Hey everyone, it's JulieAnn. You're back in my Brooklyn kitchen. I am baking with friends today, and my friend Alicia is going to join me again. You may recognize her from last week when we made Italian S cookies, and we are continuing our Italian holiday cookie theme. And this week we're going to make soft amaretti cookies. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. All Italians out there probably ashamed of me. So I have my cappuccino already here, very high cappuccino. This is a very much an American cappuccino. I'm taking a sip right now because I haven't had any caffeine, which is terrible. I am drinking my coffee and I am preparing to go ahead and make these cookies. My oven is preset right now at 325 degrees. Today we are going completely gluten-free because it is almond flour, it is egg whites, it is sugar, a little bit of lemon zest if you're feeling fancy, some almond extract, and then you can toss in some Amaro, or if you want to try different flavors, you can also try to do that as well. But that's all we're putting in this today. Nothing else. So we're gonna go ahead and hopefully whip up our pseudo meringue and get started. But I've got Alicia, and let's see if technology will work today. Hopefully this works. And this time I will remember to make sure this is archived correctly. Alicia!
Hi. Yay! Chico was watching and the sound was low, so now it's good though.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we are going to make the notorious Amaretti cookies, in which you have to whip up egg whites.
Yes.
And the original recipe that I was staring at did not include lemon juice, but I added it in because we're going to use that as our crutch today. Because and I don't know about anybody else that makes meringue on the regular. Sometimes a meringue isn't super stable. And if your egg whites aren't super stable, they're not going to whip up correctly into a meringue. So a lot of people like using stuff like cream of tartar. You can use vinegar, you can use lemon juice. And since we're putting zest in it already, I thought, why not add some lemon juice to kind of help us out to make it, you know, the peaks get a little bit stiffer than they would normally.
Ooh, maybe I should add some lemon juice.
The best news is we don't have to make them so stiff like we would be putting them in like a macaron or anything like that. They can pretty much, most of the time with egg whites, you whip up so much air into them because that's what's aerating the dough, especially this that doesn't have baking powder, doesn't have baking soda, there's no leaveners. Your only leavener is the egg whites. But today, because, and maybe it's the Italians were like, forget about it. They don't want to go ahead and whip it up extra fat like they do in French macarons. So that is going to be the major difference between this cookie and what you consider a French macaron, because French macarons require a very stiff meringue, and today, not so. So if you have problems with your meringue and you're really scared about meringue, it's okay because we don't have to be delicate with it at all.
That's
so we're going to cross our fingers. Meringue is always very finicky. I don't know.
I tried to make a coconut macaroon once, or the coconut fluffy ones, and they were just like completely flat.
I know I've not had luck with the coconut ones either before.
It's so hard.
Something just happens, and I really do believe that, you know, if you want to use lemon juice, you want to use cream of tartar, you want to use vinegar, do not feel ashamed of yourself. I think it's perfectly acceptable. And if you are a master baker and require none of these things, more power to you. I bow down. So I have my coffee, like I said, drinking up. I'm going to put it aside, and we are going to go ahead and make sure your oven is at 325 degrees Celsius. Middle rack is what we're going to be using, so make sure that is sorted. You are going to use baking sheets or cookie sheets today. I like putting a bit of parchment paper on my cookie sheets to go ahead and help get the cookies off faster. A lot of people like using Silpats. If you're just using the plain non-stick without anything down onto the bottom, make sure perhaps you might, especially if it's not a non-stick pan, to maybe add in a little bit of spray just to keep it okay. But this cookie, again, has no leavener in it. It is gluten-free because it's only almond flour. There is no gluten. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our almond flour. Now, if you saw the recipe that I posted, you can make variations of this particular cookie. You can add flavoring to it, such as chocolate. You can make it like berry flavored if you add freeze-dried strawberries and crush that up and make a powder, or you can add matcha or coffee. If you want to make the plain traditional ones, Those are just almond flavored. You can be fancy about it. I'm going to add some amaretto today.
Yep.
I enjoy the nice amaretto.
Some Di-Sorona.
Yeah, I'm like, that's very traditionally Italian, I feel.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what amaretto is, it's a liqueur made out of almonds. And for making an almond cookie, I feel like this is a good flavor profile to utilize. So I'm going to use some amaretto. And then I am actually going to have my batter, and I'm going to make half chocolate and half normal. Let's see what happens. But for everyone that's following along, we are going to use 2.5 cups of almond flour today. You can just go ahead and toss that right into your bowl, whatever bowl you're using today. We're not going to use a hand mixer or stand mixer until we get to the meringue part. So a plain glass bowl is perfectly fine. I've got my almond flour in here. I'm going to add to that a cup of sugar. And you're thinking to yourself, this feels like a lot of sugar. Negatory. It's not that bad. So I'm dumping my sugar in. And you're also going to need the sugar too, and it helps the meringue. Think about it, like all the ingredients that you're having in this cookie, it's basic, right? It's sugar, it's eggs, it's almond flour, and you're going to go ahead and whisk the sugar. I'm going to whisk the sugar and the almond flour pretty good to get the lumps out, because almond flour is notorious for having some lumps in it. Just because of the way that it's packed.
Baking with almond flour, so.
Yeah. And if you don't have almond flour home, or you couldn't find it in the store, if you just have regular blanched, slivered almonds, you can blend those up, and that's basically almond flour. It's basically almonds with the skins removed, and they just crush them. And then if perhaps like you went to Trader Joe's and you found their almond flour, it's the kind with skins on, that's okay. Use that too.
Costco, man. Oh, it's super cheap too at Costco.
I mean, and almond flour used to be very, very expensive. I think now it's being a little bit more mainstream.
And you couldn't really find it very often. So
yeah. So I would give this, so again, because we're not using a lot of ingredients, I would give it a good whisk, and then I would add your lemon zest directly into your batter here, or rather your dry ingredients, and you can just dump that straight in, and then just give it a good whisk, right? We're just gonna give it a good whisk. Now, if you're doing flavors, such as like coffee or chocolate, or you're doing matcha, you can omit the lemon, that's fine. We can later on even use vanilla extract if you want to go that way. But the reason why these cookies have that certain flavor is because it's almond flour and it's almond extract, and that's what gives it the kind of almondy taste. I think the lemon's going to amplify that a little bit, in the same way that they did when we made those S cookies, Alicia, the other day. So I've done that, and then like I told you guys, I went ahead and I split up my almond flour batter. This is same amount almond flour, or actually it's 1 1/4 cups. And then instead of a cup of sugar, I just have half. And I'm going to add some cocoa powder to it. This is about 1.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder. If you want to be extra fancy, if you have instant espresso powder, you can go ahead and put that in as well to amplify the chocolate taste. And I'm going to dump that in. And I sifted my cocoa powder, because cocoa powder, also like almond flour, notorious for having lumps. And the worst thing is to bite into a cookie, and then you bite into it and you have that like lump of flour, that lump of cocoa powder. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix that in. So this is my chocolate. We're going to see if this was a smart decision or not.
Right. It's going to work.
Since we have both never made these cookies before, I was like, yeah, totally make a chocolate.
Well, I have an Italian cookie book, and there is a Amaretto chocolate one. So it's not like far off.
Okay, good. I'm not throwing off like the whole.
No.
Everyone from Italy is like, what are you doing? This is wrong. Stop that.
Right? They are like that in Italy too.
Everyone with Italian background is like, you just ruined it. All right, so we're going to do the meringues next. And again, don't be scared of your meringues. So you've got 3 room temperature eggs. Yes? All right. We're going to take all of those eggs. I've already cracked my eggs. I cracked them when they were cold. They're easier to separate when they're cold. And then now they're room temp. The reason why we room temp the eggs is because when they're room temp, they will whip up higher than if they were regular. I don't know if Mary is on. If she is, she can give you the science behind that. But egg whites are easiest to whip in a stand mixer or a hand mixer. You can mix them by hand, but I promise you they will take a very long time. But they did back in the day.
That's what I was telling you earlier. I was like, they used to do this by hand. I wonder how long it took.
Can you imagine? I was just thinking about it. I'm like, that's a good exercise for your arms. So if you haven't had a workout today, I feel like that would be great for you. But I'm just going to dump that. I'm not playing that game. I'm using the stand mixer. So I have my handy dandy stand mixer. I've got a whisk attachment for anybody that use as a stand mixer, and I'll see if I can give you guys a little bit better view. So I've got a whisk attachment in my stand mixer here, and I'm just going to go ahead and place a little bit of lemon juice. Like I said before, this is about a teaspoon I'm about to put in here, and I'm going to put that in. You can also use about half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. You can use a teaspoon of vinegar, whatever floats your boat, but I'm just using a teaspoon because I'm going to use that to help me whip up my meringue. Actually, that was only half a teaspoon. I'm staring at my teaspoon. That's not even, it's only half. All right, dump that in. And then I'm going to go ahead and lock it for sure. And what you do with the meringue is I would always start with a low, and then increase the speed. And we're going to whip these up until they form about soft peaks. And at which point I'm going to show you guys what that's going to look like. We do not have to make these into stiff meringue, okay? And the stiff meringue is basically the kind of meringue that you use like in French macarons, or if you use them to like whip up into a cake. It's the kind of meringue that if you put your bowl upside down, it doesn't drop. We don't have to get that stiff. Pretty solid, but it doesn't have to be. It can be pretty soft. So I'll see you back in like a minute or two as we scream over.
Back there,
I know.
it's so loud. Mine's in the background, so I can hear you.
All right, I know. I'm gonna probably have to scream because once I turn this on, there's no hope for us. So get your questions in now. Anybody that's out there, just type them in because we're not gonna be able to hear you.
Yeah.
Either way. All right, so I'm gonna start low, and then we're gonna increase the speed, and we're looking for white, soft peaks. I already put my lemon juice in it. You can put your cream tartar, you can put your vinegar, whichever you'd like, or not use any at all, and just use your egg whites. And we're just gonna whip these up.
We put in the amaretto. Once it becomes
a little bit stiff, we're gonna add in the almond extract. Thank you for asking. The almond extract and amaretto. But we're gonna let it whip a little bit before we do that because we want it to already create some stiffness before. We don't have to wait too much longer, but I'm gonna show you what it's looking like. It's gonna get really frothy. It'll be very frothy in the beginning, and that's okay. And then I'm just gonna increase the speed. So I'm going to stop this and just show you guys what's happening here. So my egg whites, I'm going to lift this up. My egg whites are frothy. I don't know if you can see that. So we're at the frothy stage. At this point, you can go ahead and keep mixing, and we're still waiting for it to kind of stiffen up a little bit. And that's when we're going to add the amaretto, and we can add in the almond extract. Okay. All right. So if this frothy stage is normal, keep going. Keep going. Okay, I'm just going to show everybody what's happening here. So now we're seeing it. It's starting to get a little bit thick, right? But it's still very slippery. Do you see it sliding in? It's sliding around. This is still very soft. It's starting to peak, but it hasn't reached the peak that we want. We don't want it to be so crazy, but at this point, while it's looking like that, when you're seeing this like start of the big peak, you can add in your extract. So I would add in your extract or your amaretto around this point. But again, we're wanting it to be pretty stiff, but it doesn't have to be super stiff. Okay, so we're gonna get it poofy enough, and it's not gonna move around a lot, but at this point, it's still sliding. So this is the point where I would add, if you want to use amaretto or amaro, about a tablespoon. You're using a whole teaspoon of almond extract. And again, the reason why you're doing this is because the almond extract is going to provide you that almond flavor for the cookie, right? And everything is happening here with your egg whites. This is going to provide the rise. This is also going to provide the way that the dough sticks together. So you don't want to add too much liquid. However, if you're a big boozer, you could potentially add a little bit more amaro if you'd like. Maybe another tablespoon if you're fancy, but I would go ahead and stick to probably about a tablespoon. Yeah. I'm going to do, I'm adding in right now some almond extract. I'm just going to do a teaspoon. If you want to change it up, you can do a teaspoon of almond. You can do half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, half a teaspoon of almond if you want to change up the flavors. But because I'm trying this for the first time and I want it to be kind of more traditional, I'm going to use all almond extract. And then I'm going to take my amaro, which smells really good. And I'm going to put a tablespoon. It always smells so nice.
It smells so good.
I know. I'm going to dump that in. I just saw that go in. And I'm going to turn back on.
Put a little in the cup and sip a little.
And have a little sippy cup on the side, just, you know, to taste, to make sure it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn back on my whites so you can see what's happening.
Mine's starting to look like that.
Now, I'm going to stop and stare at this because there's a point with meringue. If you over whip your meringue, so you get it past the stiff, it will get watery and it will break. So we are not needing to go that far. Again, we're just doing it enough to mix it to get it like a fluffy cloud, because that's what we're going to whip in. That's the air that's going to add into our cookies. But we don't need it to be so stiff. Right? This is the difference, again, between what's happening with a macaron when you make French macarons and when you're making a cookie like this. So I am going to check out my meringue. It's no longer sliding in my bowl. It's actually pretty stiff. If I was making a French macaron, I'd maybe go a little bit more, not too much more. But see how like it's not moving in my bowl? That's pretty good. It smells heavily of amaretto. And you can see here, it's not really dropping. This is a pretty good meringue. Now,
how's mine? How's mine looking?
Yes, perfect. It looks good.
Oh,
so
perfect.
The great thing about this cookie, and what I'm actually excited about, if we break the meringue while we mix it in, this will not ruin the cookie. We don't have to be delicate, because normally you have to fold in the meringue with a spatula and try to be gentle with it. And this cookie, you do not have to, which is brilliant. So as I told you guys, I went ahead and I pulled together half of the almond. I have half chocolate sitting around with me. We should have put in all our ingredients that we've got together. I'm going to go ahead and take half. You're going to take whole mixture, and we're going to mix this in together. Now, whichever is your bigger bowl, if your almond flour is the bigger bowl, dump that in there. You can add it in a little bit of a time, so that way you don't completely overflow your bowl.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead, because I did two different dry batters, the chocolate and the almond. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what that's going to look like. I'm going to go and take half of my meringue that I just made, and I'm going to add half of it and half of it. But again, you guys want to use all of it. And you can just put it in, I like, you know, if you want to be delicate about it, you can put in a little bit of time. But again, this cookie lends itself to not having to be like that. You don't have to do that. So here is my almond batter. I'm going to take half of this. I'm going to dump half in. I'm going to eyeball this. So very precise with me.
Right.
This is going to either be the disaster or it's going to be a great idea. If I was being very precise, I would weigh it out, and then that's how I determine what's half, but I'm not. I'm staring at it and thinking that looks like half. And then here's my chocolate. And if you're smart like Alicia, she's doing just one flavor, since this is the first time we've made this cookie. And it's either going to be a disaster or it's going to be the best thing ever. So I have a feeling. All right. So I'm taking every bit of that. And I'm actually going to go ahead and use my spatula to mix it in. Again, if we were making a macaron, you have to fold it in. You have to be really precious about it. I'm just going to go ahead and mix it in. My habit is to fold with the spatula because it's so bulky, but you don't have to. Again, you can stir it. You just want to incorporate it so that it becomes, and it holds together. So it should become more like a dough. It should be airy and a little soft, but it should come together. It's actually now kind of it's a little dry now. So I'm going to mix that up. They smell fantastic. Oh my God, I'm very excited. So here's my dough. It's stiffening up. It looks like dough. You don't want to overmix it because you'll totally kill all the air in the meringue, but you don't have to be super delicate like I said about it. Get it to the point where it's completely dough-like and it's holding together. That's as good as it gets. You don't have to worry about trying to get it past that because we're going to have to roll these into balls anyway. And you're going to be able to press these together if they need to, but enough that it holds together. So this one looks pretty good. Let's find out with the chocolate. I'm a little worried about the chocolate. So like I said, you can fold it in if you want to be delicate about it, but you don't have to. You can just mix it in. Because my bowl's a little bit smaller, it's going to look like I'm folding it, but really I'm just stirring it. But we want to get to the point where everything gets mixed in together. So if you do have to go underneath it to fold it in, go ahead and do that. But you don't have to. Again, if you break the meringue a little bit, it's not going to be the end of the world because we're not utilizing this as much for the aeration in the French macaron. This is an Amaretti cookie. Is that how you pronounce that in Italian? I'm probably I'm butchering it.
No, Amaretti, I would assume.
There we go.
I mean, I don't speak Italian. Very few words. I wish I had, so. But
I know,
you add something to the end of everything. That's how they tend to speak. Amaretti.
All right. So, if you are wise, you've got 2 or 1, depending on what you're doing right now, of dough. So this should be good enough. And actually, I'm going to mix this chocolate one a little bit more. I feel like there's sugar crystals all over the place. We're going to roll these into dough balls. And we're going to go ahead and roll them in sugar. So you've got 2 options for rolling in sugar. You can roll these in granulated sugar, or you can roll them in powdered sugar, depending on your preference. I like powdered sugar. I feel like it's a nice color contrast. If you don't have powdered sugar on hand, though, you just have a whole bunch of granulated sugar, just use that. I either would take like a plate, or you can take a bowl, depends on like how you want to roll. And I would add in start with like anywhere from 3 to 6 tablespoons of powdered sugar, because you're going to roll around. And for our purposes, I'm going to show it to you on a flat surface. So I've got 3 tablespoons. You can use a little bowl too if you want. I'm just going to go and put that down. And this is going to be where we're rolling our dough balls, okay? And then also have handy right next to you. And this is the part where when you have a small kitchen, like me, trying to find space as I put things away.
We have a relatively big kitchen and we could barely find space, so.
So I've got a cookie sheet now. So the angles that you guys are going to get are just literally us, not even faces. You're just going to see in our heads. I am going to go ahead and put all this stuff away. And I'm going to go ahead and ready my cookie sheets. We're going to spread these about 1.5 inches apart from each other. Okay. So that is our goal. And we're going to roll these in our hands. Now, if the dough is super sticky, or if you find that, you need it to stick a little bit more, you can dampen your hands with water and then dust some sugar on it. And if you don't want to do that and you think your hands are pretty good all ready to go, I just washed my hands, so my hands actually are a little damp already. we're going to roll these into dough balls. So you can be very particular about it. If you've got a cookie scoop, go for it. If you don't, I like using nice rounded tablespoons. You can just use a random tablespoon that you've got. This is the one I was just using for powdered sugar. Or you can eyeball it. I mean, I feel like you could just eyeball it.
Yeah.
And so the best way to roll, I like rolling it in between my hands, but everyone's got their own method. You basically just want to make these into like pseudo circles, and then you're going to take them, and then you're going to go dip them into the plate that you've got your powdered sugar, and you're just going to roll them around so that they're covered. And that's it. And then we're going to take these little balls, we're going to stick them on a cookie sheet.
Perfect.
And we're going to do them across the way. And then once we prepare them and put them in the oven, we'll flatten them just a little bit. But for now, let's go ahead and roll dough. Very therapeutic.
I'm doing regular sugar, so we'll get both looks.
Oh, nice.
The powder, I'm doing a regular granulated sugar that I'm rolling.
I think a regular granulated sugar is the traditional.
Oh, I had no idea.
So
we'll see.
I know. Let's see if the powdered sugar was the right idea. But you're just going to basically, what's great about these cookies, and just like the cookies that I think you and I made last week, Alicia, is that we don't have to wait for these cookies to like sit in the fridge and the dough to chill. You basically are taking them as they are. And I don't know about you, but these smell delicious. Yeah. I can smell all my amaretto.
They smell like the ones you could get at, Italian bakery in New York City. I can't wait to try
I'm very excited. I hope these turn out all right. I've prepared my coffee to have it with my coffee. So I'm ready. I'm ready for these. So these ones, they should be soft amaretto cookies. They're not going to be like hard like biscotti. They should be pretty soft, but I'm assuming that as they age, they'll probably get a little bit harder. That'll be good too, though. All right. Everyone that's joining in right now, hopefully you've mixed all your ingredients together. Your oven is set at 325. Alicia and I are rolling dough. A very soothing thing. And Alicia made the regular almond flour amaretto version. I've also done that, and I've also made a chocolate version just so we can see a contrast. And all I did was just half my dough, and then unscientifically went ahead and did half my meringue, which I feel like professional bakers everywhere are like, that you should have used the scale. We're doing it this way. So
I'm back.
I was about to say, I was like, you've gotten so quiet, Alicia.
Basically, I was using Chico's old phone and it overheated. So thankfully we have my phone.
Oh, jeez. I feel like my balls, as I'm doing this, have gotten bigger. I feel like I started small and then got like wild and crazy.
That's why I invested in one of these scoopers things. I've never had one before. Thank you.
Oh, I love cookie scoopers. I've got one sitting in my drawer right now that I probably should have been using, but I'll do it the rustic way so everyone can see the rustic way. I'm just actually just using a tablespoon.
I mean, that's the way I usually bake, but
I mean, if you want them to be super uniform, I think that the cookie dough scoop is the best way to go because they'll all be the same size.
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit. This is my last of this one. I think these are enough to put in the oven, and then I'm going to get started on my other set. But let's see. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm rolling them around in powdered sugar. So I'll show everyone what we're going to do. So we're going to space these about 1.5 inches apart. You can kind of eyeball that. I would say you could probably maybe get 3 to 4 in a row. If you're curious if they're going to spread, then I would err on 3. And actually, I'm going to do that because I've got room on my tray.
I wonder how much they will spread.
I think they won't spread too much.
Yeah.
But I know that we're not chilling the dough. And when you chill dough, usually what happens is it will cause less spread. But because these are not, they might spread a little bit. But these are way more than 1.5 inches apart. The ones on my end. So I'm going to go ahead and take the ones that I think are the smallest and put them in the ones row 4. Or actually, maybe I'll just do row 3. Let's do row 3. Let's not tempt fate. All right.
Yeah, I did Rose's 3, but maybe mine's a little bit bigger. I have a big cookie.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and press these very lightly. You can press these very lightly. We're not flattening them completely, just very tapping them gently down so they kind of get a little bit of a love squish. And this is going to create the cracks that you see in the Amaretti.
Cool.
And if we don't achieve it that way, we're gonna bang the heck out of these when they come out of the oven. So I'm about to put these cookies in. My cookies are gonna go into the oven right now. You are seeing the regular, this is the Almond Amaretti cookies, or just the Amaretti cookies. And I'm gonna put these in for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna set my timer, 325 middle rack. So that's where we're going. Alexa, the timer. Wash my hands real quick again. All right. I've got my handy dandy manual timer. I'm at 20. Oops. 20. And then we'll check it. And while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and scoop out the rest of my dough. So I had my lone random one that I'm about to put on the sheet here. And then everyone else you can see my chocolate one cookie sheet. Yeah. I'm going to try these chocolate ones.
Are they like chocolate colored?
They are very much so a chocolate color. I was contemplating doing matcha for a hot minute, and then I thought, no, let's not tempt fate. Let's try to do traditional type flavors first, and then we can go crazy.
And then you can adapt. Once you perfect the original, then add.
Yeah, and actually, these ones, so I did powdered sugar for these ones. I'm contemplating just doing regular sugar for these. But I do have some powdered sugar left, so I'm just going to use that. And again, I started with 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar. You might need more, maybe up to 6, but I'm starting with 3. Actually, I think the powdered sugar would look good on these ones because of the crinkle.
Yeah, I think so. It would look good when it cracks in the oven.
And again, I am eyeballing these and I'm rolling them between my hands just like this in a circle. And then I'm going again, round them out a little bit more. Everything smells delicious though, so
I can't wait till they're baked because I can't wait to smell them in the oven baking.
Have you been baking other cookies, Alicia, during the week?
No, I'm going to start this weekend. So I'm going to make thumbprints. I'm going to make some more S cookies because we ate all the S cookies that I baked last week already.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you, I got to say this. I'm going to move my face now because I have to tell you. So I put some S cookies in the freezer because I was like, I need to, like, I'm going to save these out. I'm going to put some in the freezer. So I put in the freezer, and I've been eating one of those things every day with my coffee in the morning. I'm like, or have like a little afternoon like tea, and, and I eat. They're the perfect cookie to eat with like a hot drink or like tea or coffee. I've got to say, like, it is the best thing to eat while you're like having coffee or tea, and they're so delicious. And I was saving them to add into like my little Christmas tins of cookies that I give out to people. And at this rate, I'm going to have to make more because I keep eating them and I'm greedy about it. And I'm just like, I kind of want to keep them for myself. So I think I'm going to. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'll do the rest for everybody else. But yeah, I'm really excited.
Big ones, like remember how you have to, that's why we always make big ones because we end up just eating all of them anyway before we even give them out.
They're just sort of, and I feel like they get better the longer that they sit around. Like I feel like the flavor kind of concentrates. It's been really nice to have those in the house. So I'm so thankful that you shared your family recipe with us.
You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I hope everyone else bakes them too.
I know, and it just got me more excited because now I'm like, oh my god, what other Italian cookies can we try to make?
Right?
It just gets you so stoked about that kind of stuff. I've been looking at all the different kinds that I like eating, and I'm like, how can I make these cookies? The holidays are the best type of year, though, to start trying out like different cookies to make. And I find that, so if everybody that used egg whites today, if you don't know what to do with your egg yolks, there's plenty of things you can make with your egg yolks, including some like custard or puddings. And you can do cookies like sablés, like French sablé cookies that require like eggs sometimes. I'm going to try this brown butter pistachio sablé that I saw in Bon Appetit with my egg yolks. And just so happens it's the number of egg yolks that I have on hand is
perfect.
So it's
No waste here.
No.
Especially not eggs.
No. But there's like so many different other cookies that you can make with like just egg yolks if you want to go on that cookie adventure and add more to your repertoire. But I love making cookies during the holidays. We had this whole conversation about it. I think there's something very like festive about it, and there's something really lovely about opening a tin of cookies and finding all sorts of different flavors. So that's what I enjoy doing, and I'm sure other people enjoy eating your cookies that you give them.
Yeah, exactly. I think very rarely that people don't like getting cookies unless you really aren't a cookie person. There's some people that aren't cookie people, but
that's true. There are some people that aren't cookie people.
But I think everyone tries it and then they're like, okay, that's not too bad.
Oh my god, the cookie, when I was telling people that we were making Amaretti cookies today, everyone's like, I love Amaretti cookies.
Right?
That was like,
I think they're one of the most popular Italian cookies because you can get them in every bakery. And all over Italy, I mean, they bake them everywhere. Slightly different, but there's always different variations of Amaretti cookies. I don't know, did we eat any in Italy? We went to Italy. That's where we got engaged. It was in Italy, in Tuscany. But I don't remember
cookies
eating any Amaretti. I had to have.
You had to have had cookies while you were there. I feel like they give you like biscotti or cookies whenever you have coffee. Like they just automatically give you one.
All I remember was eating tons of cannolis everywhere.
Oh, that too. For sure, that too.
And cappuccinos. I miss the cappuccinos.
Oh my god, the espresso is so good. I've never been a big coffee person. And then I was in Italy actually last year for a wedding. Ironically, since you were talking about getting engaged, I was there for someone's wedding. And I was in Tuscany. It was beautiful. And every day we would have, they kind of tell you that when you go to Italy, it really is only like the American tourists that order cappuccinos after the morning. It's a morning espresso.
Yeah, I was ordering it all day.
Yeah, the cappuccinos are so good though that you want to order them all day long, and then you feel like no shame. But if you got hardcore about it, they literally said if you add lots of milk into your espresso, that's like a grandma drink. Nobody drinks it that way. It's a straight up espresso. They like shoot it like a shot of espresso, and then on their way they go. But the espresso is so good there that, as I just said before, I'm not a big coffee drinker. I love my like cappuccinos and lattes with lots of milk. And instead, I was starting to drink like cappuccino straight because it was so delicious.
Yeah, exactly. I was the same way.
And
now I try to duplicate them here at home because we bought like a cappuccino maker.
Yeah, I know.
It does the job, but it will never be Italy cappuccino.
It will never be. I know.
Never.
You can get close.
I bought even here. Let me pull these out.
So I just finished rolling.
On Amazon, you can buy Italian beans
from
Italy. And it's like the closest thing that I can get to
being in Italy.
Yeah.
Trying to, I got super close to the camera. I was like, I gotta fix the angle.
Right.
So I've got, my cookies are all on my cookie sheet. I'm just waiting for the first batch to get out. These are the chocolate ones that are going to come out.
Good.
And we're going to hopefully get those sorted. But I'm going to, while I have you guys all on here, I'm going to go ahead and just flatten those out so that they're done and ready to go into the oven. We're going to find out, and actually, I'm going to stare and see if they're spreading, just to see how you can fit on the sheet. So I'm going to turn on my oven light. Let's take a look. They don't look like they are.
No, mine don't either.
Okay, so this is the part where when we push them down a little bit, if you want them to be a little bit flatter, I would push down a little bit more if you want them flat. But usually these kinds of cookies are puffy. They're a little round and puffy. So it's okay if they're not. But the idea that they're not spreading so much is great because that means I've packed 3 in a row, but now I might do 4 in a row. Just
I think I made mine a little too big because I only got 5 on this sheet from...
What?
So I might have made them a little too big, but it's okay. I'll just make more after this.
That's all right. we were just testing them out anyway. So
Exactly.
just that I'm flattening them out a little bit more. I'm pushing them down just a little bit more than I did for the first ones, because the first ones I didn't really press down, but I'm pressing these ones down a little bit flatter. So as you can see on this side, just how much I'm pressing down. I'm just pressing them down that much because I was doing, I'll show you what I was doing before. I was just going like this. So there was like a little bit of an indent, and now I'm just going a little bit more just to be a little bit fine. And there's the one lone regular one that I had left over from that last batch, and I actually flattened that a little bit more than normal as well. So I'm going to go a little bit lower than I did last time. And like I said, I think that's going to be, it'll provide the crinkle that you see normally in these kinds of cookies. And if they do not, when they come out of the oven, the best, here's a trick for you. When you take them out of the oven, wrap them against the counter once or twice, like drop it from about 3 inches and just drop it once or twice, and that will spread out your cookie because it's still warm, and it will also provide wrinkles. Kind of like in the same way that you make chocolate chip cookies. If you've ever done the bang method for cookies, you can do that. But these cookies supposedly will be done in the next 10 minutes. Whether or not I believe that,
I know, right? They don't look like they're browning yet.
they don't look like they're browning. They're supposed to get golden brown. So anywhere from
25, yeah, it's pretty low, you know, for...
Yeah, it's only at a 325 temp.
Yeah.
So I'm actually shocked to do that. But
it might for 25 minutes.
All right. Well, while that's happening, I can at least put things away over here. And yeah, and you know, like I said, I think these cookies lend itself to you know, kinds of adaptations, if you will. And you can make them, like I said, matcha. You can make them strawberry flavored, anything like that. Got freeze dried stuff, mango, maybe, I don't know, like whatever freeze dried, like, you know, fruit you can find, and pulverize that into a powder and add that in if you want to make it a little bit fancy about it. But I do know that that probably is not the correct traditional way to have them. I don't think they come in all these different
Italian grandma's rolling over in her grave somewhere.
I know. Everyone that's been to Italy is like, you've ruined it. Stop it right now. I don't think matcha is a flavor in Italy. I don't think that's
Japanese.
true.
But I mean, you can combine Japanese and Italy. People do it all the time, so it's not too off. I bet you can make something new and good. Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Most
That's
try
true.
something
You probably
new.
could. But I mean, I think what's great about these is for those that maybe have like a gluten intolerance, these are completely gluten-free. They are not, however, vegan for those who can't have dairy because of the egg.
Yeah.
They're vegetarian, but they're not vegan. And if you wanted to do vegan, I've not tried it, but people that I know that are vegan really stand behind Aquafaba, which is basically a garbanzo bean can, and like you take the juice or the water from the garbanzo beans and you whip that up, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's gonna taste like beans, it'll be disgusting. No, apparently not. Apparently it kind of doesn't have a real flavor to it. And you can whip those up into meringue and use that as your meringue base into these cookies.
That's
so
crazy. The things you can do with things that you didn't think you could use, you know?
No, and like sometimes, you know, I was thinking about it too. I was like, you know, they pack a lot of those things, like if, I don't know, like you eat like peaches or like, you know, any of those things that are canned, they pack it in fruit syrup. So I bet you could put that, like if you're baking thing, like I don't know what you're doing with them, but like the kinds of things that are in there, you could utilize for.
Yeah, like the cherries, what are those called? I can't think of the cherries you put into
the Marciano cherries?
Yes, Marciano cherries. The juice in that you could probably use for something.
Probably. And the other day I was using, speaking of Italy, I was using some sun-dried tomatoes, like in a can from Italy, and it's canned in like a little bit of like, you know, like citric acid, which is like lemony juicy, and olive oil. And you can use that. I was putting that in my pasta. I was like, yeah, I am.
Exactly. Might as well use it all. Okay, let's look and see what these look like.
I know. Check your cookies.
Ooh, they're cracking.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I
They look
like.
good. They're not browning though, but they are at least cracking, and they smell delicious.
They are cracking. I can't tell if they're browning or not. I have a feeling we're gonna need like 30 minutes. I have a feeling we're gonna need like an extra 10. Because I have now 5 minutes to go, but I feel like they're gonna need an extra 10.
Yeah, like 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
These are very exciting. So you're making thumbprint cookies next.
Yeah, thumbprints. And then you sent me that one cookie. What was that one called?
It's
Amaretti.
Am-
Amaretti. The hug cookies.
Oh yeah, I want to try that. Yeah.
I'll let you know how those go. And then we make more S cookies. And then there's this cinnamon. I'll have to send you this book, like, information. Like, they're called cinnamon nutmeg cookies, and you use cream cheese.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they're delicious. And it's kind of like this, where you roll it, but you roll it into cinnamon, nutmeg, and sugar. You make like a little mixture, and you roll the dough into it. So that's also what I make. And those don't only ask for egg yolks. So there's a egg yolk.
There you go. That's where you can use your egg yolks for.
Exactly. So, and then sometimes, but like I usually pick one or two new ones. So this is the two new ones I'm doing. This one and the hug cookies, the Amaretto. I think that's what they're called. Amaretto. Oh yeah, this has everything.
I want to say they're called Abarachi or Abarachi. This is where anybody out there who actually knows Italian would please like this. It's Abarachi.
I'm Italian, but I don't know how to say it.
But they're the cookies for anybody that needs to know what those are. It looks like it's half vanilla and half chocolate, and they call them hug cookies because you basically connect the ends together in the circle cookie. And so you get like this half vanilla and half chocolate, and like they're hugging each other. And you can flavor the chocolate part, not just with cocoa powder, but with like Nutella. You can make the vanilla with like honey, and it can be delicious. So actually, that's very exciting. I was thinking about making those too, but let me know how those go, because I want to see how those turn out. They look like they're going to be delicious though. And when I was in Italy, I saw a lot of those, and they're delicious when I was eating them in Italy. So,
yeah, I don't remember. I don't know. I've probably had them before. I've had the ones where they're like checkered, kind of the same, where it's like a checkered black and white.
Oh yeah, the checkerboard one.
Kind of probably like the same. It's like a butter cookie, so that's exactly a butter cookie too. So it's probably like the same, just made differently. Wonder how you make the checkerboard cookie.
I feel like with that one, and now we're going to like random, like not even about the
right. We're going into an Italian
totally. I think that what you do is you'll take the two different doughs, and I think you pile them on top of each other. So you roll it. You pile it on top of each other like it's squared, right? And you roll it. Or if it's square, then you form into squares, and then you cut it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you pile it so it starts at like a half sheet, and then you fold it, and so it's like a quarter sheet. And now you got 4. And then you like
cut
every
it,
other
like,
layer,
like bread. Kind of like biscottis.
Yeah. Which is another thing I have not ever made before, biscotti.
I've made biscotti with my Aunt Joanne when she was here like a couple of years ago, and it came out good. It's quite interesting because I think you double bake it. I'm not 100% sure.
I think you
do
too.
Like, it's a lot of steps. It's no wonder biscotti's so expensive. It's a lot of and they use a lot of like luxurious, ingredients. Pistachios are very expensive, so if you put pistachios in, it's an expensive ingredient. So it makes sense why they're so expensive. It's a lot of work.
I think biscotti, it's because it's double baked. That'll take probably like an hour to bake.
Yeah, it's in this book. I think I made one year from this book, and they were delicious.
I mean, I feel like
I didn't think I could do it.
I feel like biscotti is one of those cookies that when you're younger, not so great. Like, it's not your favorite because it's so tough, but you're supposed to dunk them in like coffee. Yeah. When I was in Italy, people were dunking them in like, your drinks, your dessert wine that you would put that in, and that's
your Amaretti liqueur.
Yeah, and like, but as a child, if you're eating it, you're like, why is it so hard? I don't understand it. And then it makes more sense when you dunk it, and you're like, delicious, so good, yum. Speaking of, I'm gonna grab my espresso here. I'm doing some of that. All right, I'm gonna stare at my cookies. They have like 5 minutes left on this timer.
Oh yeah, I did add more time, so I'm still at 1 minute.
Oh my god, they smell really delicious. They're not golden though.
Let me go check.
So I'm gonna give them maybe another. Let's give them 5 minutes. I'll start it at 5, and then we'll work our way up. Don't want to burn them per se, but I think it's really gonna help. Those cookies in particular are going to be helped by the flattening. So I think the second batch, the ones with the chocolate, are going to be a little bit flatter than my first batch because my first batch is definitely puffier.
5 minutes added. You now have about 6 minutes and 20 seconds left.
Alexa, let me know I have 6 minutes left.
I was just saying, I was like, who's telling you the timer? I'm like, oh, they're very friendly.
Alexa has really greatly improved our baking timeline here for when I started using Alexa to do baking.
She's just like, you're supposed to take your cookies out of the oven. Hurry up.
Right? And then she yells at you, like, it's still going off, the alarmer, you need to take them out. I wish you would do that. That would be great.
That would be fantastic. She's like, the number of times I've walked away, and this is such a terrible baking habit, the number of times I've walked away from my oven, and I'm like, I've got time, and then, like, I don't hear my timer go off, and then I'm like, there's something I was doing, and realize I was making something, and then come back, and, you know, have burnt something, or, you know, overbaked something totally all the time, because, you know, you walk away and you forget that you have a timer on, especially if you're making a lot of batches.
I'm notorious for, like, doing what we're doing, where we're like, okay, we need to add 5 more minutes, and then not adding a 5 more minute timer, and then you're doing other things and you forget that they're in there. That's what always happens to me.
Yes.
And it happens with bread too, like when you're like making like French garlic bread, you're like, put it in the oven, and then you forget about it, and then you like burn it. It happens all the time.
You're like, wait a second. Yeah. I was about to say, I was like, for anybody that, hello everybody that just joined in, Alicia and I actually are waiting for our cookies to bake. We've already pulled together our pseudo meringue almond flour mixture. Those came together fairly quickly. I think the longest part is the bake. Those came together pretty fast with the help of stand mixers or hand mixers.
We'd still be mixing everything.
We'd still be mixing it, I was about to say. And while I was watching it mix, I thought to myself, wow, this probably took a long time to mix by hand. And, you know, and not that it's a bad thing, because, you know, you can really control it a little bit more. But if you have the technology, I would use the technology just because it saves yourself. Or you can do both arms. You can hold one arm, then you can flip to the other arm.
Yeah, and then you're not so good with your other arm because it's not your, like, dominant arm, so you're, like, not whisking as good, I feel like, as you are with your dominant arm. So, yeah. I can only imagine all those, you know, decades and centuries ago of old Italian ladies making amaretti and just, like, hardcore mixing. And, like, who came up with that? Like, who thought, oh, perfect, let's mix this? Like,
and the Amaretti cookies are pretty old. They originated in Venice in, like, the 1400s. Someone fact check me. I want to say it's like the 1400s.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right?
Yeah.
I feel like people were baking these kinds of things back in the day, and think about the kinds of, I mean, that makes sense, like the sort of products that they might have had. Maybe it didn't start out with like almond extracts and things like that, but I'm sure they were putting alcohol in it. I bet they were.
Yeah.
So
probably. And I mean,
you know,
because it would last. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like last, just like how they drank beer like water, because water back then was probably not safe to drink. You probably had to drink the beer.
I mean, they probably didn't have almond flour, but I'm sure they kind of made like a variation. They probably had tons of almonds around and were like, let's just grind them up. Like, they probably...
I mean, it's basically almond flour. It was ground up almonds, so I bet you.
Exactly.
Yeah, or maybe they started out with, maybe they didn't even start out with almond flour. Maybe they started out with regular flour. Like, who knows? Like, this is the kind of stuff that I love about, like, food history and, like, if you have, like, food historians, to go ahead and, like, let you know about, like, where these things came from. And the fact that, like, you know, you get one recipe, and if you go across regions, like, you know, in Italy or even here, and, like, everyone makes things differently.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, like we were talking last week about the S cookies and how you're like, your aunt uses a different, like, she uses vegetable shortening, she doesn't use butter. Like, you know, there's different variations of like how people make things. So, what is the book called that you are using, Alicia, for, you were showing me the book. What is it called?
Oh, it's Sweet Maria's Italian Cookie Tray.
Ooh.
I got it at Barnes and Nobles, I believe. But yeah, I was trying to find a book where it had like all these Italian cookies. And every cookie that I've made from this book has been really good, except for the coconut macaroon one that I couldn't figure out. But probably now that I know how to whip meringue, I probably do better at it now.
I feel like the whipped meringue, it is so easy to mess up meringue.
It is.
It really is. Like, either over whipping it or under whipping it, And ever since I started, like I said to you, I started using crutches and like using cream of tartar, I use vinegar, I use lemon juice. It's always been perfect ever since then. So I feel like it's okay to embrace those like extras if you've got it lying around. And then if you feel comfortable with it, don't use it. You don't have to. Like people don't use things like that at all.
Well, especially because we put lemon zest in, so if it has some sort of lemon, it won't completely change the taste of it too. So that's what's nice.
All right, I'm gonna stare. My timer's about to go off again. I'm gonna stare at the cookies. I'm gonna look at the bottoms. I'm gonna take them out and look at the bottoms. Mine are golden brown. First of all, I don't know if my oven is hot enough. Oh yeah, they're looking golden brown.
Yeah, mine are 42 seconds, so I'll just let them finish for 42 seconds and then I'll take them out.
Where's my pot holder? So these ones I did not, I'll show you everyone. These ones I did not flatten out so much, but we see the crinkles in them and they are kind of round. I'm going to tap them a little bit on the counter.
All right, here are mine. They look really good.
Just a little.
All right. How are mine looking? Mine look delicious.
Oh, those look great. I'm gonna look at the bottoms. They look cooked at the bottom. They look cooked at the bottom. Mine are a little bit toasty at the bottom.
Yeah, mine are like golden brown.
Yay!
We did it!
We did it! I don't know how they taste.
We got
They
to
smell
taste it
delicious. They smell really good. I'm gonna take these out. I'm popping my other ones, but oh my god, we made it, you guys. We've made these Amaretti cookies. I'm very excited because I remember you were saying that the last time you made these didn't work out.
They did not. They look phenomenal. They look like as if you bought them from an Italian bakery. And I'm going to have to make 4 more batches of them.
Well, you've got the Costco bag, so it's good to go.
Right, exactly.
Oh, man. Alicia, thank you so much for coming back on this Saturday and baking with me. This time, I will press the right button, hopefully, fingers crossed. If not, you'll get a call from me, and I'll be like, so, are you still making cookies?
Right. We'll do a different cookie now.
I know. Let's make some more. Why don't we? But everybody, thank you for joining. If you're watching, if you are planning on making these later on, if you made them with us while we were baking, please tag Alicia and I so we can see your lovely holiday cookies, your lovely Italian cookies. If you're like me, I'm probably going to eat them all instead of giving them away, but
you already got one ready to go.
Yeah, perfect cookie to give away. Let me know how they taste, and then we'll see you again on Saturday. I'm still going to be continuing my holiday cookie baking next week. I'm actually going to have our friend Shafali on.
Yay, go Shafali. She texted me last night, and she's like, I'm nervous. And I'm like, you're going to be fine.
She's going to be great. She'll be great. So Shafali's going to be on, and we're going to be making gingerbread. So let's hopefully that will work out into like our little holiday foray.
Yeah.
So until then, everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you again.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye, Alicia. Thanks.